The Proto GT Series live here on iRacing Live, RaceBot TV from the Le Mans circuit. We apologize for the extended break that we have there. Unfortunately, I don't think Will will be joining us for the rest of this broadcast, so it's just me to take you to the end of this 1 hour, 15-minute race in the Proto GT Series. The vast majority of your prototype runners have made their one and only scheduled stops. It is still going to be Marcus Hamilton for that Thrustmaster Movano racing team. Up in P number 1, and it's going to be Tobias Schultz, Philip Bauer, Paul Ulbrink, Emmanuel Galinier, as in fact those positions are very, very close indeed, with Ulbrink gaining one over Galinier. Actually, then is going to be Heugevel, then Martin Tellegrad, then Renat Rat, David Stranzo, and then Martin Ober, rounding out your top 10 in your prototype field. Then looking at GT1s, it's going to be Marian Babarek leading from Damien Davot. Then it's going to be Alex Bassiou, Ville Valkanaki, and then Alexander Godfrey. He's down on pit road. He's currently running P number 5 with a very smoking engine. I don't think there's going to be P number 5 any longer, as the number 24 driver seems to have gotten himself involved in an incident. And unfortunately, I don't think we can show you that due to the issues that we have been having. But it also looks like problems for the number 10 as well, just as we're all getting back running here. Seems like drivers have decided to have a little bit of off-track excursions here. A single car incident for Heugevel, number 10 in the prototype field, heading himself in towards the tyre barriers at the Portage Caves. It just seemed like the car just completely broke away from him coming into the first part of the Portage Caves. No one else around to try and help him into the gravel, into the tyre barriers, and that is going to be the end of the number 10's race. As we also see number 2, Paul Ulbrink, he's going to head his way down onto pit road for the second time, and this was because of an error at the start of the race where he fueled his car for a 60-minute race instead of a 75-minute race. Of course, the Pro GT series does alternate between those two lengths of races, and the Radicals Online driver just making a very easily made mistake as he gets himself stopped in the box to get his fuel to the end. We did conjecture that he might have only put qualifying fuel in as he pitted on a very, very early lap of this race. I think it was lap number 3 that he had pitted himself in on. So he's going to get his fuel towards the end. Now he's going to be down through the field on perhaps his qualifying position. He did qualify P number 4. He's going to come out in what is going to be around about P number 11 here, as the next car back on track, I believe, is going to be Aldo Massa, and he's had his own fair share of troubles as well. So not a good day for a couple of your drivers in this very, very, very big prototype field. 35 cars, obviously not all 35 still running right now. As looking back towards your GT1 field, not all that many battles in this one. We did see that pack of 3 cars was 4 cars at one point at the front early on in this race before we went to that break. But unfortunately, with all the stops that have been happening, then it seems like that one has just spread out a little bit. As also the number 8 out of this race, and so that must have happened when we were on that break. Because he's down on pit road and doesn't seem to be coming out anytime soon. So a bad race for Dennis Avrete goes from bad to worse with that incident, because he did get that slowdown penalty early on in the race that put him down positions, and now he is completely out of the race. As a couple of drivers still look to gain from that, though. You've got the likes of John Goodwin, Dean Underwood currently positioned behind him on track, so they have one position to gain from the bad luck of Savaretic there, as there was a change position further up the prototype field. I believe this was Galinier as he heads his way out of what it was going to be the Yanage corner. He's currently now trying to chase down Philip Bauer, as Bauer, he's dealing with traffic of his own class here, so that could be a little bit tricky. But heading his way into Arnage, he's going to get by that stray prototype relatively easily, as actually that prototype has to narrowly avoid the tire barrier on the outside, being a little bit too generous, you have to say, on the exit of Arnage there. Could have ended his own race with letting the lead lap prototype through. But battle for P1 lead, or at least LMP2 these cars are. We're going to get those LMP1s in not too distant future, the Porsche and the Audi. But for this race, LMP2s, the HPD ARXs, and Marcus Hamilton, Tobias Schultz, very close on circuit now. Before the pit stops, I saw Marcus Hamilton pull up a margin of around about a 2-second gap to P2. By virtue of those pit stops, this has brought Tobias Schultz right back into it. And I wonder if we can just get an onboard from the perspective of that number 12 as he tries to chase down Marcus Hamilton. This is your RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Well, that was a lap on board from the perspective of the number 12 of Tobias Schultz, as he actually did lose quite a bit of time on that last lap. It's going to be around about 1.5 seconds that he lost on that last lap. So not very good for him. As we have a look at the number 15 and the number 28, this is a battle going on for just is going to be inside of your top 10. It's a battle for the 10th position, in fact, between Maximilian Peckel and Jake Farquhar. And did hear over the driver radio while that onboard lap was going on, Jake Farquhar apologizing So something could have happened between these two drivers as they have a little bit of GT1 traffic to deal with in the Ford chicane. And this is not the place where you want to be dealing with traffic because he slows you up so much if you're a prototype. But finally, Peckel will all get his oversteer and managed to get himself blocked by his own lap traffic of his own class there. That was Bert van der Brandt, which was a very, very tricky situation indeed, but they managed to get through it without any sort of damage to the cars. And Farquhar's going to get blocked here by the GT1 car, just heading his way across his nose there. And Farquhar's going to outbrake himself for the Dunlop chicane and is going to be forced on the inside of the track by the GT car that was coming through him. So that was a messy couple of apexes there for Farquhar. Let's just put him back just a little bit. No positions though. It just means that that gap to Peckel is going to be just a little bit larger than it once was. As I saw Bassiu, the number 30, this is your P number 3 GT1 car, don't forget, got very, very squirrely on their way up to Tetra Rouge. And then Farquhar, he has to get back past these two cars, back past the GT1 car. He has to try and get back past the lap down prototype now, as he looks to get that done coming into the Forza chicane. Don't think there's going to be any need to be fuel saving now unless he drastically underfueled the car at the first pit stop. But he's just going to hang behind just for now, so maybe he is a little bit more marginal on fuel than we perhaps thought, and just taking it very, very patient here. You have to think the more time he gets stuck behind Van der Brandt, then the more time that he's going to lose to Maximilian Peckel. Looks like Maximilian Peckel is going to be pretty good on the fuel, I would have thought. But saying that, he did pit what is going to be... actually, Farquhar did pit around about a lap earlier than a lot of your front runners and prototypes, so his fuel issue may be a little bit exacerbated compared to the other drivers. So maybe that's why he's just hanging behind the number 58 car right now. As we have a look back towards the number 22, the 17, and the 4. This is a little bit of a 3-car scrap going on for P number 12 in your prototype field right now, as they get by that the GT1 car that Farquhar had a couple of issues with heading their way in on the first part of that, in the first sector, but those two prototypes head their way through fine. Will Massa head his way through fine? He will, as after he dives down the inside, almost a little bit of contact with the lap traffic. But Massa definitely cutting it fine there. He didn't want to get that car in between him and the two other prototypes ahead. He also risks losing the draft if he loses too much time behind there, but it's not going to be too much of an issue for Aldo Massa to head his way through. He has lost a little bit of time, but due to the draft around here at a circuit like Le Mans, then it's not going to be too much of an issue to drag himself back up to the back of Dmitry Lenov and Xavier Del Cavallo as well. Ooh, Massa, he has a huge slide coming through the apex of Indianapolis there. Completely unforced error, got himself very loose even on entry. So this is coming out of the right-hand kink just before Indianapolis. Just got the back end out, tried to get the car corrected for the braking down into Indianapolis, got on the curb and just slid himself right across the apex. I wonder if we can get a replay of that one. But that was a fantastic car control from Aldo Massa, even though you have to say ultimately it was kind of unnecessary getting that loose onto the entries, into the entries of the corner, but still well held from Aldo Massa to keep that car from going anywhere else but the racing service. Looking in your GT1 field, though, things still very, very spread out. Marian Babarek in that Corvette, doing very, very well indeed at the lead of this race. And we mentioned that he was embroiled in that battle with Davot and Dennis Savaretic, who was unfortunately out of this race early on in the race. But this second stint has really, really worked well for him, as he's pulled out a huge gap now as the driver of David Soranzo makes his way by in the prototype. You have to say in the Corvette, probably not the best car around here if past Le Mans 24-hour events are to be believed, but Babarek definitely bucking the trend, bringing that Corvette to what is going to be a very likely, shall we say, number 1 for your GT1 field. But as in racing, it isn't over until the fat lady sings. Many things can still happen in the final quarter of an hour of this race. But battle looking to be on now for P number 3 in your prototype field. Galinier has actually caught up to the back of Philip Bauer, and Bauer actually had a horrible lap time that last time by 3 minutes 34.3 compared to Galinier's 3 minutes 32.7. that is a very, very big advantage to Gagne on that last lap, and it's just allowed him to get back inside that slipstream to the red closing line driver ahead of him and perhaps challenge for P number 3 at the end of this race. And he has quite a lot of time to do it in as well, 15 minutes. And by my reckoning and my calculations, around about 4 laps for these prototypes to battle it out. That could be more than enough time that Gallian needs, as he has the run coming down in towards the right-hand kink before Indianapolis. We'll have the inside line for this one, and Philip Bauer not going to fight it, and he's just going to back out of that one and probably attempt the repass later on in this race if the opportunity arises for him, as the draft lock is so pronounced at the circuit. The 3-car train for P number 11 is going to be now between Carvalho, Linev, and Jake Farquhar is still going on. Linev has the run coming down into Arnage over Carvalho, but decides to back out of that move. As I said before, maybe a little bit more fuel saving by some of these drivers needs to be done, especially those that pitted a little bit earlier to try and get themselves towards the end of the race. But for the vast majority of drivers, I don't think that would be an issue, and it's more of a strategic move of where do you want to be on that last lap, because leading coming onto the last lap is not necessarily where you'd want to be, especially if you can get the draft pass done, like Linev is just demonstrating for me here, coming down in towards Indianapolis, and he will get that position complete over Carvalho, and that is actually a repass again. So Carvalho got past somewhere at the first part of this lap, and Linev getting himself back past coming down in towards Indianapolis. Still a little bit of traffic ahead of these guys. GT2 field, we haven't been talking much about them. Well, because there isn't really that much to talk about, because there's only 3 cars and they're spread out by quite a margin. One of them is even out of this race. Oliver Dean out, classified P number 42 in the overall standings. It's just Zachary Levey leading this GT2 race, and Max Forte is pretty much nowhere near him. So not a good day for the Fords, not a good turnout for the Fords, but sometimes that does happen. But we have a 35 car prototype field to get excited over, so it's not too much of an issue. Just following these prototypes as they head their way down in towards the Ford chicane. And number 22, Dmitry Linev, looking to get past the lap traffic relatively quickly, but Van Brandt, again, it's the same driver that's causing a couple of issues for the drivers on laps ahead of him. Not really surrendering the position too easily to the other prototypes, heading his way through on them. Let's see if he gets out of the way on the run up towards the Dunlop chicane. He does take the outside line, and he cuts across in front of Dmitry Linev. So Van Brandt definitely not being the typically courteous bit of lap traffic for Linev and Carvalho to have to deal with. So a little bit of patience required from Linev and Carvalho, maybe just to make that draft pass on the lap traffic coming down the Mulsanne. Good run for Carvalho coming out of Tête Rouge. He's going to get this side-by-side action going on the first part of the Mulsanne. May get some help from Prototype ahead. In fact, that help does go to Dmitry Linev. Just Linev sitting in the slipstream of the car. Good second down the road. The draft does extend back that far, and you can see that advantage that he's getting just exacerbates down the entirety of the first part of the Mulsanne, heading their way into the Ford chicane. This is pretty much the only closest battle that we have out there on track right now. The various battles that Paul Olbrink was involved in have all but fizzled out as Olbrink heads his way back through the rest of the field after his a little bit of a mistake with the fuel. But to gain a P number 8 out of all that in a 35 car prototype field, even with a fueling mistake, that is definitely something to be commended. Just going to have a little bit of a ride on board with the number 17, Xavier De Carvalho, as the 2 cars ahead of him. Well, one of them is for position, but the other one, a little bit of lap traffic that refuses to get out of the way. bit of contact between the 15 and the number 22 there, heading into the Dunlop chicane. That was very, very interesting indeed. This was a battle for position. In fact, that did close up on that last lap. Pekel and Dmitry Linev. Pekel down the inside. Just didn't leave his man enough room on the outside of the corner. Just pushed him outside of the track. And as a result, Linev still ahead, at least at the end of that move. But look at this, coming towards live pictures with number 15. 3 wide down the Mulsanne will have to go. Pekel just stranded in the middle there. These are all for position. Dmitry Linev and Xavier Del Cavallo now side by side heading their way down in towards the Forza chicane. But then that will be a side by side potentially back with Pekel, as Pekel has to drop towards the end of this train right now. They have all managed to get themselves by the problem, shall we say, prototype driver that was holding them up a little bit. So now they are free to race, even with a little bit of traffic ahead on the Cavallo. Still has the slipstream over Linev, heading their way down into the Michelin chicane, but will just lift out of it, feeling that the opportunity isn't on, especially with the danger of lap traffic ahead of him. So he is just going to be rather patient, heading their way down into the Michelin chicane, and in fact they are going to get held up behind the traffic there. So I don't think Cavallo would have wanted to be going side by side with traffic ahead of them. That is always a danger situation in endurance racing. They will head their way by the P number 2 Aston Martin driver. As well, that P number 2 Aston Martin driver, the Damien Davro, as that he just gets in the way of Pekel, heading around the outside, and actually Aston Martin just punted towards the outside of the Mulsanne there. I believe that was Philibert Prevot, a lap down on the rest of your GT1 field. Just broke for the Arnage corner as normal, but then just slowed up a bit too much. A little bit of miscommunication with the prototypes behind. He did leave the inside line open for the prototypes to dive down his inside, but Linev just gave him a little bit of a push, and then guess what? Cavallo gave Linev a bit of a push in the Arnage corner. And as a result, both of those drivers have a little bit of damage. Pekel manages to get his way through fine, and so does P number 2 in GT1, Damien Devro. But that was a very, very concerning instance, and yet another typical instance in endurance racing where there is a little bit of miscommunication between the two classes. But looking at the damage that Carvalho and Linev have sustained, so Linev will have a little bit of rear end damage as a result of that move. And it's just a little bit of a bent up bodywork at the back of that car. It's actually Tobias Schultz. This was P number 2 in your prototype field, having to dive down onto the lane. And I wonder if that is, there's no damage to his, actually there was damage to his car, to the left front wheel hub that he did manage to get repaired. And you have to wonder, did he get that on this last lap? It's going to be a rather lengthy check to see if it did. The big problem area could be the Porsche curves, as he headed their way through there just fine, I believe. But you would have said maybe that was a little bit of superficial damage to the left front sort of wheel hub of the car, the left front clip. But you know how fragile that these prototypes can sometimes be, even if a little bit of the most inconsequential damage can be caused for a meatball flag in iRacing. So it's definitely not the race Schultz would have wanted from this point forward, having to take that extra stop. But he is ahead of the other driver that had to take an extra stop. That was Paul Elbrink. And Elbrink is around about 9 seconds behind Schultz right now. So Schultz has around about 3 or 4 seconds to make up to his next competitor here in David Soranzo in P number 7. So Schultz drops from P number 2 to P number 8 as a result of that pit. But more scrapping going out on track right now, or at least battles that are close. Aldo Massa and Xavier de Cavallo are just getting themselves close. And here comes, guess what? It's another little bit of lap traffic, getting the draft pass over a lead lap prototype there. That was Brent van Brabant, and Brabant, if I get that pronunciation right. I'm no doubt I am butchering that pronunciation. I am British after all, that is what we do. As he will make his way through, and as history has shown, he's not really one to get out of the way quickly of the lead lap prototypes. So we'll see what will come of this one, as Massa still tries to track down Pekel. But even though Massa had a very, very good last lap of 337.1 compared to Pekel's 341.0, then Pekel Of course, he had those issues on that last lap at the Mulsanne corner with the lap traffic. That has put him down a little bit. The Corvette ahead of him, though, is the GT1 race leader in Marian Babarek, as we only have 3 minutes to go, 3 minutes 25 seconds to go in this race. But unfortunately, the battles have all spread out, mostly except for this battle between Peckel and Aldo Massa, and even that one, by normal racing standards, isn't that close either, as the lap car does decide to separate them. So white flag is currently in the air. Marcus Hamilton has made his way by the starter stand, so another 3 minutes 30 seconds left until he makes his way back around and looks to take P1 in the prototype field. Philip Bauer still 17.2 seconds behind at this stage. So not really any threat for Marcus Hamilton to be dealing with at the end of this race. He will just be fine all hopes for Thrustmaster Movano, because he did make that mistake early on with getting the slowdown penalty, so he is prone to making mistakes, even though he doesn't make them often. It's not impossible that something might happen. If I forgive him, please forgive me if I'm just jinxing him right now. That's probably what's going to happen. As Peckel and Massa. Well, Massa has closed the gap on this last lap, so it's going to have to be a last lap hope somewhere on circuit for Massa to get himself into P11. As they head on their run down towards the Ford chicane for the second to last time. And also ahead of these guys, you also have the number 22 of Dmitry Linev as well. That could potentially be a factor in this last lap scrap between these two drivers, as they will pass the start-finish line to get their final lap started. Now, does Massa want to get this move done early, or does he want to save it until the end of the Mulsanne? He's going to go for the inside, potentially coming down into Dunlop, as the Peckel actually locks up the brakes there. The left front tire all locked up. He will get a slowdown penalty as a result of that, but is that going to be enough to let Aldo Massa past? It doesn't look like he's going to save it right now, as he does drop back a little bit. But Peckel, if he doesn't save that slowdown penalty, he's going to be hit with a stop-and-go penalty at the end, as actually he has dropped back, has served that slowdown penalty. Here comes Massa down towards the driver's right-hand side, coming into the Mulsanne. He will get that draft pass complete, but the thing is, this Mulsanne is so long that Peckel can get the pass back, as they weave all the way down the first part of the Mulsanne. Massa trying to break that draft as Peckel comes back on him outside line for the first part of the Forza chicane, but Massa will get that move defended coming down into there. So opportunities running out right now for the number 15 driver, as Massa gets a whole bunch of oversteer coming off the corner. This could be the opportunity for the 15 to get himself by, as he's all backed up behind the Aldo Massa right now. Wasn't able to get himself by, just didn't know which direction to go in, as he goes driver's left-hand side now. That was a big opportunity for Peckel, as they almost slammed doors if these guys actually had functioning doors on their way down towards the into the Michelin chicane, and Peckel will gain that position, but still, this is not over. Massa can still head his way past. The positions could be changed again on their way down to Mulsanne, could be changed again on their way down towards Indianapolis. As Marcus Hamilton is heading his way through towards the Ford chicane now for his final lap. It's been an absolutely flawless race for the Thrustmaster Movano driver. The last two apexes are taken sweetly, a little bit low oversteer off the corner, but that doesn't matter for Marcus Hamilton, as he will take the prototype race win here. Babarek is still on the Mulsanne, so we divert our attention back to this battle for P11 between Maximilian Peckel and Aldo Massa. This one will be over before the GT1 leader heads his way across the line, so we'll be sticking with this one till its conclusion here. Aldo Massa draft down towards Indianapolis through the little slight right-hand kink, as he has to go driver's left-hand side. They're still giving the inside line for Indianapolis, but not this corner beforehand. A little bit of contact there coming down into the entry, and that's going to be Maximilian Peckel. Oh, he gets all out of control there, and he is going to lose that position. Not going to lose any more positions. That car behind is a lap down compared to him, and you have to say there's probably no chance for Peckel to gain that position back over the number 4 driver, as they're going to be heading their way down in towards the Porsche Cribs for the final time. So Peckel, Aldo Massa looking to get P number 11 as he heads his way through the final couple of corners. A little bit of that traffic to deal with in the form of John Goodwin that could hold Massa up here as he has to go around the outside of the right-hander, but no issues for him. Just another chicane to go before he can claim P number 11 after what was a very frantic beginning to that last lap. But 2 more chicanes to go for him, the Ford chicanes. There's one done, and the other, and he will take P number 11 as we have a look back to what is going to be your GT1 race winner. Well, he has 2 chicanes to go. It's Marian Babarek in that Corvette. Slow prototype ahead of him. He has to be careful of it in the way into the Ford chicanes, but Marian Babarek, a very, very busy first part of the race for him, embroiled in the various battles that were going on, but a very, very comfortable final stint for him. And Marian Babarek in that Corvette is going to head his way across the line and take P number 1 for your GT1 field. Then Deveau, he was also involved in the P number 1 battle as well early on in the race. He has to settle for P number 2 quite a couple of seconds behind your leader. As your 4GT leader, we almost forgot about them because, well, they're only 3 cars strong and 2 of the cars are pretty much out of the race at the halfway stage. But Zachary Levay is going to be the 4GT that's going to come out on top. Number 29 driver going to get his race win in the Ford GT. As long as that car can make it to the end, it was a little bit weird on the downshifts for the Ford chicane there, but I think he's okay. Zachary Levay going to take the race win in your GT2 field. It's actually very slow out of the Ford chicane, and he is out of fuel. He runs out of fuel coming across the line. That's how marginal it was for him. Of course, no opportunity to save fuel for him because the rest of his field basically dropped off the back of him late on in the race there. So very, very marginal for the Fords. But this is your final results. In your prototype field, Marcus Hamilton for Thrustmaster Movano comes out on top with a 19.2 second advantage over Philip Bauer. The final position on the podium will go to Emmanuel Galinier. Then the ones not on the podium, P number 4, Leonard Rath, P number 5, Martin Telgaard. Then it's going to be David Taranto. Tobias Schultz with that late pit stop, that unforced pit stop, shall we say, puts him down in P number 7. Paul Ilbrink, similar sort of situation for him, P number 8. Then Martin Kober, Dmitry Linev, Aldo Massa. That was the battle between Massa and Paquel. The P number 12 driver was the battle that we were watching at the end, but that one does go to Massa. Then Xavier de Carvalho, Jake Farquhar, Henrik Nielsen, Alex Basson, Alejandro Ivan Villamartin will be the last car on the lead lap. And cycling through the rest of your prototype finishes now. Then you've got to have a look back towards your GT1 field. Very, very exciting in the first stint of this race, but once those pit stops happened and we came back after a little bit of an extended break, then that one just spread out with nothing else really until the end, until Marian Babarek took the checkered flag. And then Damien Davro, then it's Alex Besiu going to be rounding out the podium. Then Vil Valamaki, John Goodwin, Drew Vries, Felbad Pevro, Alexander Govoy, Dennis Savaretic with the issues in the middle of the race, and then Dean Underwood will be rounding out your GT1 field. Then of your 3-car GT2 field, it's going to be Zachary Levay coming out on top, pretty much unchallenged throughout all of this race, picks up his race win, and then all of these finish because, you know, it's a 3-car grid. Everyone gets to finish on the podium. Max Fortas and then Oliver Dean finishing out that field. And that's about all we have time for here for RaceSpot TV on RaceSpot TV Primetime, streaming live here on iRacing Live. Join us next week for more RaceSpot TV Primetime.